Hello, my name is Regine le Roux. I am the managing director of a company called Reputation Matters, and we're based here in South Africa. Our core focus is to measure and manage reputations. A big focus for us, or an important component of what we do, is to measure perceptions, be it of reputations, of brands, of internal climates. A big focus for us is to provide communicators with a voice around the boardroom table. And we are able to do this by quantifying perceptions. So we have aimed to give communicators a voice by being able to speak in numbers. We've just seen that gives a lot more credibility to the industry when we speak in numbers. So I started the company in 2005. This is our 16th year of measuring and managing reputations. And during this time, we've seen quite a big evolution in the reputation space. It's not just about the public relations side of things. It's not just about social media. It's not just crisis management. Yes, all of that does play a very key role in managing a reputation. But there's quite a number, actually 10 different things that we look at that needs to be managed. But that's not today's conversation. There is another webinar on reputation management. But today I want to chat about brand, because in this evolution of reputation management, we have seen reputations are all about building relationships, building internal relationships, external relationships. And we have also had to evolve in terms of the different offerings and research products that are out there. So having focused specifically on reputation measurement with our Repudometer that we have developed, we have also worked on different methodologies to look at internal climate surveys. We have also developed a brand equity survey to measure brand equity for an organization, because all of this is very much interlinked when it comes to reputation management, and especially a brand, the look and the feel. And that's what we're going to be unpacking today. What is the core components that make up an organization's brand? What is it that we measure when we help an organization to get more insights into how their brand is perceived? Now, I want to start off with this piece that I got from the Weber-Shandwick study that was done last year in 2020. A corporate reputation is an invaluable asset with an appreciable impact on a company's bottom line. On average, global executives attribute 63% of their company's market value to their company's overall reputation. So the study notes that reputation matters to the board of directors, the CEO, and a broad set of stakeholders. And why I've brought this in here is because reputations and brands are so closely linked. It just shows the importance that reputations, brands play on an organization's bottom line. If a customer likes your brand, they resonate with it, they want to be associated with it, they are going to spend their hard-earned cash on your products and services versus the competition. And that's definitely going to have an impact on your bottom line. So that's what we're going to be unpacking and having a look at today. What are those components that build up and make up an organization's brand? So what we use is the brand meter. We've based this on the Repudometer that we've developed, and that's what we're going to be unpacking today. But what I want to start off with is basically what it is not. So brand equity research is not reputation research. And when we measure a reputation, we look at all the different stakeholders. So we look at internal perceptions of the employees, external groups such as your customers, the media, government, business. And with brand equity, our core focus normally is on customers and even potential customers as well, to get an idea of what their perceptions are. Also, with reputations, it consists of more than just product and service offering. It is also affected by elements such as corporate responsibility, good governance, and strategic partnerships. So that is, as I mentioned, there's 10 different things that we look at when we build or measure reputations. Brand equity is also not customer satisfaction. So brand equity is made up of various elements, of which the customer experience when engaging with a product or service is definitely one of them. The brand equity survey results provides a snapshot overview of customer satisfaction, but it doesn't go in depth. Doesn't provide in-depth insights into customer satisfaction. That's a whole different methodology that we look at. Then it's not market research either. So with market research, the brand equity research speaks to your existing database of stakeholders and customers who are already familiar with the brand, rather than to a broader audience of potential customers or services, customers or public. Then finally, it's not a way to obtain a monetary brand valuation. So brand valuation is largely based on action taken in the past, so number and size of sales, for example. And since brand valuation is very, very subjective, we have in our literature studies and our desk research just seen that there currently is no agreed common methodology for determining a brand's commercial market value. So this does leave brand value open to manipulation. And different brand valuation models often reach vastly different brand values for the same organization. So we have built a methodology specifically measuring the perceptions around different areas of a brand. So when it comes to the brand equity side of things, and perhaps I'm going to encourage you as we go along with each of these different building blocks, perhaps just grab a piece of paper and give yourselves a mark out of 10 for each of these different areas, and then you can get a rough idea at the end what your brand equity is in a percentage. So the very first building block that we look at, and these building blocks aren't mutually exclusive, they don't work in isolation, there isn't a priority, all of them are equally important, they all need to be taken into consideration. So the very first block to start off with is the brand visual identity that we need to have a look at. And just as an example, this is the look and the feel. So it can be the emblem, it can be a letter, it can be what people visually, as it says there, see. So for example, this G. We are very familiar with G. If we Google every day, we know that's Google, and the Apple symbol for Apple, the swoosh for Nike. But it's not limited to visual. It's got all your sensory, it looks at all the different senses for a specific brand. So it could also link to, for example, the sensory in terms of smell, the Starbucks coffee. It could also be auditory in terms of, for example, that rumble of a Harley Davidson. So it's all the different senses. So if you had to think of the brand that you are working with, or your company's brand, if one only saw a component of that brand, would it be recognizable? Would people be able to immediately, for example, see the swoosh and know that is Nike? Or is there a particular smell, a taste, a feeling, auditory when it comes to the specific brands that you are looking after? So give yourselves a score out of 10 for that specific one. The next building block that we have a look at is the brand personality. So if we have to give if your brand was a person, what would that personality be like? So the examples that I've used here is, for example, Nando's, the chicken brand, very quirky, very fast, and very witty with their adverts, especially with things happening in the news. They link to that very quickly, as mentioned, very witty, quirky. Disney brand, for example, very much family values, family orientated. Um, so if you think about the brand personality that you have for your brand, and if that had to be a person, what would that personality be? Would it be more conservative? Would it be quirky? Would it be outgoing? Would it be an introvert and an extrovert? Would it be male or female? Would it be young? Would it be older? So perhaps think of those characteristics. How would you describe the personality? Is it easy for you to describe the personality of your brand? So again, give yourselves a rating out of 10 to see how easily you can describe the personality for your specific brand. The next building block that we look at is brand awareness, or the familiarity with it. And what we mean there specifically, and I've used Coca-Cola and Caterpillar as an example there. And this basically means, how familiar are people within the industry with your specific your brand? So different types of brands require different levels of awareness and familiarity from the public. So your consumer brands, for example, Coca-Cola, require wide public presence as possible, where business-to-business brands tend to focus more on the awareness of the brand within a specific business community. For example, the Caterpillar brand. Strong brands, but obviously very different focus areas. So how familiar are the audiences that you are interacting with your specific brand? Is it a consumer brand? Are they very familiar with it? Is it more a niche market brand, in specifically maybe where it's profiled in trade media more? So again, give yourselves a score out of 10 with regards to brand awareness and brand familiarity. The next building block is the brand positioning and the brand promise. So here I've used car emblems just as an example to illustrate this specific element. So if we look at brand positioning and the promise, what makes you different from your competitors? So what is your unique selling proposition? So if you had to describe what makes your brand unique in only 8 words, what would those 8 words be? And for you to then jot it down. So for example, if we had a look at these examples, Volvo, we've always seen them as a very safe vehicle. Toyota, reliability. Family cars are Volkswagen. These are very, very big generalizations, but just to give you an idea, those are the key words that come to mind when you see these emblems. So if you look at your brand, your logo, what are those key words that come through? What are as I mentioned, your unique selling proposition? What are those 8 words maximum that you would jot down? Would they come to you easily? For example, safety, family, reliability. So on that note, just be mindful that quality and affordability is most likely something that your competitors might be using as well. So you want to find the words that sets you apart from the competition. The next part of this exercise of writing down 8 words of what your unique selling proposition is first of all to see how easy was it to come up with those 8 words. But if you were to ask somebody else within your company, perhaps somebody that's newly joined, an intern, or somebody that's new in the company, what would their 8 words sound like? Somebody that's been in the company the longest, different positions within the company. So somebody that is working as an intern perhaps, or is working at the reception desk. Do they all share the same 8 words when it comes to describing the logo or the brand when they see it? Because the more aligned that is, the more solid the reputation, the brand is. And that's also the golden thread. Those are the words that you want to be communicating in all of your communication and marketing collateral. Then The fifth bullet, so give yourselves a score out of 10 regarding your brand positioning and promise. And you can base that score on how easy it was to come up with your 8 words for your unique selling proposition. Then the fifth block that we look at is your brand experience. So what we look at from a brand experience point of view is this speaks to the interaction that people have with your brand or services. The experience is measured against the expectations that that person has regarding a specific brand promise, any past experiences, and just the interaction. Was it positive? Was it negative? Can they trust the brand to deliver on the promises that have been made? And are the customers experience a level of service that is being promised? And is it aligned to their expectations? And I've used the different grocery stores in the UK. For example, if you have to think of brand experience, if you go to a Sainsbury's versus an Asda versus an Iceland, that is quite different experiences that you have, and the interactions that you have, and the expectations that you have. So when we speak brand experience, just think of it as measuring it against going to a grocery store. So if you think about brand experience for your specific brand, what is that experience? What is that brand promise that your customers are experiencing? So give yourselves a score out of 10 for that. And just to add to that brand experience, it's all about consistency. And your brand and your reputation is built on consistency. The more consistent you are, the more you are building a reputation in that specific area. It could be positive and it could also be negative. So keep that in mind. Consistency builds reputations. Then the last building block that we look at. So there's 6 blocks that we have a look at. The final one that ties all of this together, that's the glue, is brand communication. So here we have a look at the need to communicate the brand. This is where your advertising comes into play. Before a brand can become familiar in the minds of the target audience and start garnering customer loyalty, it needs to be visible. It doesn't help being the best kept secret. Brand communication does this by way of advertising and other marketing initiatives. And again, that's why it's really important to understand your audience. What are their communication needs? What are they reading? What are they listening to? How best are you going to reach out to them? Are you using the most effective channels of communication to reach your audience? And to illustrate this, I've used Amazon and Samsung as an example. And I was actually looking at it's called Statista.com website. In 2019, Samsung Electronics invested $9.7 billion in advertising activities. This was the 4th largest advertiser worldwide. I don't know about you, but in South Africa, there's a ton of adverts on every platform regarding Samsung. But you might find this interesting. Amazon was the largest, and their ad spend in 2019 was $11 billion. So it is just having that awareness, advertising, but at the same time, you need to have the fundamentals in place. You have to have everything in place to advertise. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your money. Your reputation needs to be in place. You need to make sure that you have a strong visual identity. What is the personality? Brand awareness, familiarity. Are we targeting the right channels? Trade publications. With public awareness, the advertising has to be even more. Brand positioning. What is our unique selling proposition? That experience when somebody interacts with our product or our service. What is that experience? And that then needs to culminate into an advertising campaign to bring all of that together. So if you think of your communication, your brand communication, the different channels, the advertising, what score would you give yourselves out of 10 for that? So you would have given yourselves probably about 6 different scores out of 10. Maybe you've given yourselves a few more, but however many scores out of 10 you've given yourself, add that up and divide it by 6, or the number of ones you've written down, and that's going to give you a very, very big ballpark figure, just as a bit of fun to wrap this up. But now what's also important, that's your perception. What is the perception of your customers, the potential customers? Are they familiar with your brand? What do they think of your brand? So that's where the research component also becomes really important, to understand where are the gaps? What do we need to do more of? Because we might be assuming that we have a very strong personality as a brand, for argument's sake. Or we might think that everybody's very familiar with our unique selling proposition. But once we start unpacking that and understanding it, it will also guide us in terms of where we need to be a lot more strategic. And research really is so crucial to be able to put a strategy in place to see where do we need to focus, what does our priority need to be, and from there then to put our plan into place. I think very often what invariably happens, there's a lot of budget for marketing, so websites are built, amazing billboards are developed, and wonderfully creative, quirky adverts. But if the fundamentals are not in place, you're going to be wasting your money and time. It is so important just to take that step back, assess what is our perception out there, what is our reputation, what is our brand equity, what do we want it to be, and then you've also got something to measure it against. So we often see people who don't want to do research because they say they first want to fix stuff, but you can only fix stuff once you actually know where those pain points lie. And then it's wonderful to also compare it year on year to see, have we actually improved in specific areas. So that is where we then provide guidance on that. And I think, and I hope that this has also been insightful for you in terms of what areas to look at as you build the brands for your customers as well. So what will be your priority and focus area for to take your brand equity to the next level? So I encourage you to have a look at what you scored higher on, because it's good to focus on the positive, but also have a look at the areas where you might not have scored as high. And then to build yourself some goals and to put some action plans in place, and to see how best are you going to take your brand's equity to the next level. Love to hear from you. Please feel free to continue the conversation further. Here are my contact details. research@reputationmatters.co.za comes through to me and my team, in case I'm not always that fast on it. We are on Twitter, Reputation is Key. We're on Facebook, Your Reputation Matters. We're on Instagram, Quantifying Your Value. Please reach out. Let us continue the conversation. More than happy to have any questions from you, any comments, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon and your session. Go well. Bye.